What is up, CSGs? It is that time. The game that we have been looking forward to is approaching. The Houston Rockets are set to face off against the Golden State Warriors in a quarterfinals matchup for the in-season tournament. And to me, this is our Super Bowl. I am not shameless or whatever it is in saying this. This is our Super Bowl. I had alluded to this in my last video. Likely one of the most important games the Rockets have faced since being in the playoffs in the bubble. And it's going to be a game that to me is really going to determine a lot for this season for the Houston Rockets when it comes to confidence, when it comes to their approach, their swagger, kind of benchmarking where they are. No one game defines a team, but there are some games that are more impactful than others, and this is definitely one of them. I'm going to read off some things here. Okay. Roddy Ricch's The Box was the #1 hip-hop song on the charts. There were 813 deaths from COVID-19 worldwide. Team Giannis and Team LeBron faced off in the All-Star game. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was the top-grossing movie. What do all these events have in common? I'm going to give y'all a second to guess. What do all these events I just named have in common? This was the current events of the last time the Rockets beat the Warriors in February of 2020. Think back to February of 2020, a different world that we lived in, all the events that occurred in that year. But before all of that, the Rockets were fielding a team that featured Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And that was the last time we beat the Golden State Warriors. There is some sort of mental block on our franchise against this team, and it's time for us to exercise these demons. And it starts Wednesday in this in-season tournament against the Golden State Warriors. Now, we've seen, obviously, the Warriors have beat us twice this year already. Undermanned. Not to throw away that context of them being undermanned in both instances. I don't even think we've played Steph yet, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or in the comments. I don't think we faced Steph, and they're always resting folks. I don't know if we even faced Draymond in the 2 meetings that we've had. They've relatively kept their starters out, or 2 of their key players. If I'm mistaken, I might be wrong, remembering it wrong. And they have beaten us in a multitude of ways in those two meetings. In the last one, really came after us on the defensive end. In the first one, their offense just went crazy with Buddy Hield hitting threes. And the thing is with the Warriors team, and I've gave you guys this analogy before, they are a different type of team than we face regularly. They're a team that really thrives a lot off of the free fluid motion offense that they run. And for a team that is a defensively aggressive team like ours, it is something that is really tough to handle. You think back to some of the best teams. The best team created to guard the Golden State Warriors was the Houston Rockets, ironically, a team that was structured and developed by Daryl Morey, our former general manager, who was able to see that in order to attack this Warriors team, you have to force them to play in isolation. And force them into playing in isolation. What does that allow you to do is to limit some of the devastating actions that they run and the counter actions and counters off counters that they use, because they are all collectively usually a super high IQ team. The current version of the Warriors right now with Kuminga and Pods and all these random young people and that they have on their roster is still doing what they do, not at the level. Obviously, the hardened Warriors that we have to face with KD, without KD, with Steph, Clay, Dre, Iggy, these are all-time level greats at their positions, whether it's an all-time great as a role player or Steph is an all-time great shooter and Draymond is one of the best defenders in NBA history. Different level. The thing about teams like Golden State is the continuity that goes in from year to year. And this is the mark of truly a great franchise, a great program at any level. You think about, some of you guys are in the Houston area. When you think of like high school football, for example, who are you thinking about? You're going to think, and I haven't kept up with high school football, so I may be wrong on this. When I was coming up, I'm talking about Katy High School. They're going to field a playoff contender. Remember, I think it's South Lake Carroll from back in the day. I don't know if they're still up there, but you think about South Lake, you think about Katy, you hear all the stories. The kids are being developed in that system early. and it's interchangeable parts, right? Every new year, it's going to be a new batch of kids, but they're going to still have the same mentality and the same goal to win a championship. Obviously, not every single year, but you look at it over the aggregate of years that have compiled over, you have a winning program more often than not. And when you've established winning as a culture, that is kind of what you get. And that's what the Warriors have. They have a system, they have a culture that is there regardless of who the pieces are. And when you get to that level as a franchise, then you've done something. The Spurs were like that for a little bit until recent years, and they're trying to reestablish that. You see some teams trying to do that right now. Boston, you put them in that category of being one of those teams. Miami, you put them in that category. There are teams that go in and out of it depending on who's leading the team. But at the end of the day, you still need great players to run it. Now, all of this is relevant for the Rockets because the system the Warriors run, we've seen it been pushed to the edge, and the way it was done was through having some of the smartest defenders you could put together, playing a style that would neutralize it. And that style was switching, right? And we had someone, I've talked about this in the last video, the Rockets were able to switch some of the best players to guard these Warriors, whether it was PJ Tucker, Luka Mbamute, whether it was James Harden being able to switch out as a post player, Chris Paul, whoever it was that was out there playing, Trevor Ariza, out there playing for us. You were able to switch and really shut off a majority of their actions and force them into ISOs. And this was something that we did, and we pushed them in multiple years, except, you could argue 2019. Because of the injury to KD in that series, him going down actually made them, I wouldn't say it made them better, but it made the Rockets' approach to them a little different, right? And to me, the reason they went and got KD was because of the Rockets. And, they said Cleveland. But to me, one of the things that both the Rockets pushed them to do, even with Kevin Durant, and what the Cleveland Cavaliers forced that Warrior system to be able to play in, is in play in isolation. And when you get down to isolation and you can neutralize their switching, their ability to run their sets, their ability to slip screens and do all this stuff and force them into ISOs, Steph isn't great in isolation. Draymond is not great in isolation. Klay damn sure ain't good in isolation. So you force them to do that, you have a chance to win. The Rockets, our current version of the Rockets, they have to force the Warriors, this version of the Warriors, to play into isolation. And we have not been able to do that simply for the fact that our players, even though they're switching, one of the counters teams have to switching is the slip, right? The slip is when whoever's setting the screen for the ball handler, because the Warriors run a lot of dribble handoffs where they'll get any player. It could be a guard, it could be a big man, it could be Looney, Draymond, it could be anybody that gets the ball. They're going to dribble and then hand it off to a shooter, a guy that wants to come downhill like Kuminga. And then what the team that is switching usually does is whoever is guarding the person setting the screen, let's say it's Şengün or it's Jabari. It's usually going to be one of our forwards. They come up, the offensive player on the Warriors sets the screen. Our defensive player that's guarding that screen setter is either going to show on the other side of that screen, not to allow one of their shooters to get a free range. So that's going to be personnel based. Or if it's a non-shooter, you could either switch it if they're getting downhill really fast, or just give a light show and then retreat back to your assignment. The problem is they have such a prolific system. It's such a machine that the players, the personnel actually do what they're supposed to do. What I mean by that, if it's a shooter, let's say it's Buddy Hield, he comes off that screen. The moment you do not show, whether it's you're going to give a hard show or you trap him or blitz him or whatever it is, the moment you don't do that and the person that's trailing, who's guarding Buddy trying to come around that screen, doesn't get into position to force him to drive, that's a three, right? So that's one mistake that's going to happen, okay? One mistake. You can fix that, right? You can fix that, like I said. You bring up your big man, whoever it is, up higher at the level of the screen so that discourages the shot, right? So that's one counter you've made to them having a shooter come off the screen. That's one. The other thing they do, they want to drive downhill with one of their athletic players, like Kuminga, okay? So you're going to be in a drop to try to stop him from doing that. The problem with that is that he is so athletic and so quick that drop, if it's too deep, he's going to get an angle and change directions on your big man, and then he's at the bucket getting fouled getting a layup. Okay. Also, what you want to do to neutralize that, you could try to blitz him. That's another. You could blitz the ball handler. You could be higher up on the screen, just like with the shooter, right? That's one way if you cannot guard the drop. The Rockets are doing a great job. They're doing a great job of the initial action. We force the Warriors into secondary actions, but coincidentally, this is when they're most dangerous, right? So you get up and you stop that shooter. You're showing on Buddy Hield. You've blitzed Kuminga. Guess what? Pocket pass to Lord. We haven't even seen Draymond. Even Looney. Pocket pass. Guess what's happening once that pass comes? Your defense has to help because now you have 2-on-1. They get on a 4-on-3 scenario. We have 2-on-1, and it is chaos because as a 2-on-1 is coming, you have to know where your rotations are. And then off those rotations, the other helpers have to rotate to help the helper. And when it ends up happening, guess what? While you're trying to figure this out, because nobody is safe. Nobody is safe, right? You think it's only the two guys in action that are overthinking? No. It's also the guys on the weak side, right? Because now you're like, okay, I'm Jalen Green. My job is to rotate and help out whoever's going to step up and try to stop this 3-on-4, this 4-on-3. I got to get over there. And while you're stuck trying to think this out, guess what? Your man is cutting right behind you. And that DHO doesn't even happen because now it's just a layup because whoever's having the ball, setting that screen is going to just hit that layup because you're overthinking on the weak side. This is how they get you. There's no chill. There's no chill. There's no waiting. There's no I'm going to sit on defense. Everybody has to be locked in. All 5 players on defense. You have to be one. You have to communicate. You have to know what you're doing. What made the old Rockets team so successful in this? They were a heavily, high IQ veteran-led team that had seen the Warriors multiple times, and they were able to communicate. They were switching without even looking. Guys were switching in anticipation, rotating, just hauling ass across the court, knowing based on how the help comes, where I need to go. And personally, for our current team, the reason we struggle against that, our guys just aren't there. The awareness for the game isn't there. The focus to be able to not only guard your man, prevent the cuts, and then also be able to rotate and then stay on your assignment and you might be on ball one rep and then trying to stop a cut the next. It's really hard for our guys to do that and score and do everything they're supposed to do because they're young. And even worse, our veterans sometimes, they struggle with that, right? Dylan Brooks, great defender, one of our team's best defender, really, really terrible at stopping cuts, right? Because they're so hyper-focused on the initial action and trying to help. So what do the Rockets have to do to address this? They got to focus. The reason I put so much value into this game for me is because you have one game that has all the gravity of the Vegas Strip. And you guys know, don't let the players fool you. They want to win this in-season cup. Like, this is something that they want. Like, you athletes, you can say, let's race to the corner for $1. And, guys going to be coming out there like it's the Olympics. It's just what the insane nature of being a competitive athlete is, that you are super competitive in everything. And any time that you add stakes to a game, a thing or whatever, a contest, they want to win it. So put the cap aside. That the gravity of the moment is going to be there for the Rockets, right? Can they lock in for one game, especially against a team that we haven't beat in 15 tries? Can they lock in for one game? And this is going to show you the closest thing with the factoring the fact we haven't beat Golden State, factor in that this is for a trip to Vegas to play in a tournament that, could lead you to a championship. Factor in that we are coming off a rest. Factor in that we've lost to them twice already. Factor all this in, the fact that we struggle against their system. I need to see how guys react, especially our young players. I'm talking to you, Alperen Sengun. I'm talking to you, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr. I'm talking to you guys, right? I know what Fred has won a ring. I've seen Fred VanVleet perform at the highest level against this team. So he might even have a CTE game. He might even crash out. I'm going to put Fred to the side. Dylan Brooks. Now, he got something to play for because Dylan his playoff resume is up and down, right? So I'm even throwing him in there. I'm talking to you, Dylan Brooks. How do you guys step up to the plate and focus for one game? For one game with all this pressure on you. You know what I mean? Pressure can either bust pipes or it can create diamonds, right? So who's going to step up? And to me, as you're evaluating this current Rockets team and their ceiling and what guys you want to look at and who's going to, you got to factor these games into account. You got to put these into account. Who is going to step up? Who is going to step up? Who's going to step up? Ime Udoka? Throw him in there because Ime has struggled against Golden State. Ime has struggled against Steve Kerr. I would say majority of the time when they have faced off both in Boston and Houston, Kerr has out-coached and outclassed Ime Udoka. And the corrections and counters to what the Warriors have been doing to us have been late for both here and in Boston for him. Does Ime, can you show us some ingenuity, some in-game thinking and adjustments to what the Warriors are going to do? So this game is severely immense. And I'm okay with putting the pressure on the Rockets because I feel like they have to win this game. Now, obviously, they don't have to win this game. They could lose this game, go on and still make the playoffs and have a successful season. But I want to put that pressure on this team. Let us win this game because I feel like a win like this would be monumental for this franchise. It would be monumental for these young guys to get that boogeyman off the Golden State Warriors off their backs. It would be monumental for our coaching staff. Can you imagine if we were swept by the Warriors this season and we have to see them in the playoffs in the first round? You know what I mean? I don't care about what the fans are going to say or what anybody thinks about. To me, this is a game of just like you just have to step in and handle business for one night. And I am all for it. This should be a treat of a game for your Houston Rockets. Now, this team is not the same team as previous seasons. And this is a little segue from that. I expect them to show that, right? You've seen them perform much better this season. I was looking through the records from last season. 24 games into the season, the Rockets were 13 and 11. So 2 games above 500. This was at this point, 24 games in, 11-1 at home, 2-10 on the road. You want to talk about the biggest leap that these guys have taken? The road games this year, the Rockets were 7-5, 2 games above 500, 9-3 at home, right? So you can see what gets caught up in all the game-to-game reactions from the fan base, which is hella annoying, is the fact that the macro leap that the team has taken, a team that at this point in the season only had 2 wins on the road. We have gone on the road and have played our asses off, 7-5 on the road. One of the road losses to a Milwaukee team on a back-to-back to one possession that we probably should have won that game, right? So you think about that. You think about some of these other games that we've let slip away on the road. So there has been development in the macro. Now, in the micro, this is where a lot of people get stuck. And I always challenge the Chop Shop audience to be able to view, don't look at games in the micro, right? The micro will drive you crazy, especially when you're dealing with a young team in a league that has 82 games. You want to look at trends, right? We have trends that we could see. For example, Jabari Smith Jr. is trending in the right direction, both in the micro from game to game and in the macro. But try to base your emotional reactions in the macro. Jalen Green has struggled in the macro, but he is in the micro in the past few games, off and on, is having some signs of life in the micro, right? So just like I wouldn't react to somebody that's struggling in the micro, I'm not going to react to Jalen Green having good games in the micro because until I see a macro trend. This is how I evaluate the game. And that's what I'm challenging you guys to do. So look at the trends. The team is a lot better than they were last year, right? We have been relying solely more on our young guys more than we were last season. We have seen breakout games from Amen Thompson, from Alperen Şengün. We've seen breakout performances from Jalen, individual, not in a trend yet, but we've seen breakout from Jabari, from Tari Eason, who has been just balling out in a stretch or so ago. We've seen that. And don't lose all of these things in the big picture of what the team is trending towards, because at the end of the day, this is uncharted territory for these guys. We're a top 3 team in the West. This is uncharted territory. And lastly, I wanted to touch on the Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore situation, kind of our young guys and how they're being developed. Firstly, Reed Sheppard has struggled, both micro and macro. He's struggling from shooting 3. And I was in a discussion with, I don't know what I posted, something about Cam Whitmore, because they kind of relate, even though they don't, right? Cam, why is Reed playing? The question, basically, generally, why does Reed Sheppard get minutes while Cam Whitmore does not? Well, there's simple and kind of a more convoluted explanation. Simple explanation. Reed Sheppard's position is a position of need. It's a position of necessity, right? A backup point guard. We have 2.5, 3 guys that could do it. You know what I mean? The pool of guards really to be lead ball handlers for our team right now, and it's not a great selection. Number 1 is Fred VanVleet, who was probably our best lead ball handler, facilitator, table setter. Then if all else fails, you go to Jalen Green as the secondary guy that would be if Fred wasn't on the court, right? And Jalen's decision-making is erratic at this point in time. So it's really kind of hit or miss with him depending on how focused he is when he has the ball in his hands in the game. And shout out to him against the Clippers. Very efficient with his dribbles and decision making. And to me, that's his best role. I don't want Jalen over dribbling, right? Catch and shoots, one dribble, get your screen, go downhill, attack. Don't think about it, because he doesn't have the awareness to be able to run the full offense. And it was fully on display yesterday. He was much better when he was getting the outlet passes to hit his threes from Amen Thompson, Şengün actions, Dylan, paint touches, et cetera, et cetera. Side note. But if it's not Jalen, then you get a battle between Holiday and Sheppard. And Holiday, as great of a scorer as he is, tunnel vision on as a facilitator. So you kind of want him to be more passive off ball, being able to receive kick out passes, because he's a great catch and shoot 3-point, probably one of our best deep shooters consistently on the season. You would say Fred hit a lot of deep shots, but his numbers go up and down, right? And then Reed Sheppard, right? So if you're really splitting, true ball handling is really just Fred and Reed when it comes to that. And the problem is his handles aren't tight. But one thing Reed Sheppard does is that he's going to make the right play more often than not. As poor as he does on defense, as bad as he's shooting percentage-wise, he's going to make the right play. And sometimes for a young player, the easiest play is to just swing the ball. Swing the ball and cut. Set a screen. Move the action. Take your shots. I'm telling y'all how coaches think. Coaches don't think like y'all. A coach doesn't think like, wow, this guy's shooting 20% from 3. I got to get him off the court. No, the coaches look at, when this player is on offense or they're on defense, are they doing what I asked them to do? If they're doing what they asked them to do, then they're going to see the court. That's all coaches care about. Because a lot of coaches in any sport are process-based, not outcome-based. Because most people that are in that position of being a coach, a leader, you focus on doing the right things, and then the outcomes usually precede themselves. If you keep, the term keep chopping wood. That's a coaching mantra. That's a philosophy that coaches have. A lot of fans are looking at, wow, this guy's shooting really bad, so he shouldn't play. The coaches don't care about that. Now, there's a caveat, like, the whole Jalen shoots bad, makes bad decisions. Guys, we understand what goes on behind that. Obviously, there's politics. So this is not like a perfect, perfect analogy that everybody gets an even. It's not. I'm going to break it to you. The world is not fair, right? So, yes, if we were holding guys to the same standard, everybody would be held to process and all that stuff I'm talking about. But Jalen is not. He was the number 2 pick. I hate to say it to you guys. He's going to get a longer rope to screw up than a Reed Sheppard, or even though Reed is a number 3. Just they've invested more time and equity into Jalen. They've paid Jalen. Both Reed and Cam are on rookie contracts. Though, so Reed is playing out of necessity because if we had another body in this position, he probably is in Rio Grande with Cam Whitmore. Now, to Cam Whitmore, I've just laid out everything about Reed Sheppard. I've told you guys this about Cam Whitmore. He has every tool to be probably the best wing guard combo on this roster. He has the size, explosiveness. He has the shooting ability. He has the build. One thing he lacks is situational awareness. Cam Whitmore has been, for the most part, he's been a ball stopper for the Houston Rockets. When he gets the ball, it dies, right? He got to dribble, got to tween hezzy, got to get my shot off. He just stops the offense. And on a team that has a lot of guys that can do that, as a coach, I would not want to put that out there. Take your mind back. Once again, Summer League, Jay Gupp, we want you to learn how to facilitate, play defense. Coaches, GM said that on ESPN. They interviewed them. Yeah, we want him out here, but you're going out there dropping 40. Guess what? Now you're not on the team. We don't care if Cam Whitmore can score 40 points because at the end of the day, he's not going to have the opportunity to do that at this moment in his career. We care that Cam Whitmore runs in transition, plays hard on defense, rotates the ball when he gets to it. And when you get a kick out shot, shoot it, right? Shoot it. If you're not going to shoot it, pass it. And that's a bare minimum for a young guy to be able to see 10, 15 minutes randomly like Reed Sheppard does, right? Because Reed makes himself playable even though sometimes he's unplayable. But by necessity, he is there. We have a plethora of wings on this roster. And that is where Cam is not a ball handler. So he's in the pool with Amen. He's in the pool with Jalen, who Jalen doubles as a guard and a wing. He's in the pool with Tari, who doubles as a wing and a forward. Same thing with Dylan Brooks. So the competition at his position is pretty high. So for him to get those minutes, he would have to do what the coaches have asked him to do. And on the court, he has not done that. And that is precisely why he doesn't see minutes and he's still in Rio Grande. Now, he will get an opportunity, I guarantee you. Obviously, the G League is going to be wrapping up at some point. Cam, when you come back to the big team, to the big boys league, just do what your coaches ask you to do. You do that and you'll find yourself minutes. I didn't bring up nobody's shooting splits, even though Cam, everybody praises his shooting. You never hear me say that he was one of the worst shooters on the team in the time that he was up here with us. But all of a sudden, because his stretch last year, everybody's talking about him like he's Steph Curry or something. I don't even care about, y'all know I don't care about shooting splits. Bro, be part of the team. Be KJ Martin right now. Be KJ Martin. Be a role player. Weak side help. Run in transition. Dunks. Shoot your catch and shoot three. I don't care if you shoot 30%. Just play within the flow of the offense. And I guarantee you, Ime Udoka will give you minutes. And then when that happens, guess what? Oh, Cam had 25 points. He got hot in that game. Okay, Cam, we want you subbing for Jalen in this stretch. You got to build your way up there. But before we get there, bro, do the little stuff. I guarantee you if he does that, he'll be fine. So if you're asking why isn't Cam playing, one, positional necessity isn't there as of yet. As much as our offense is trash, we're still, top 15, 16 in the league in offense, and we're a top 3 seed in the West. So there's really no like, oh my God, we got to get Cam Whitmore up here to tween hezzy when we pass on the ball. Dude, when you get your chance, take advantage of it. And so all that talk about, the Rockets are doing them wrong or whatever, people just got to, that's just how things are in the NBA. Some guys are afforded a lot of rope to screw up and be bad and whatnot, and some guys aren't. That's just how life is. Life isn't fair. You're right. Yes, Jalen should probably be benched. He probably shouldn't start. Maybe Jabari shouldn't start because Tari's better. But that is just how the NBA, that's how life is. Guess what? You got to adapt. There's no point in talking about the theories of what is fair and what's not fair when you're the person that's on the short end. What you got to do is you got to go take it. And the only way Cam can take it is he do what his coaches ask him to do. So that's my view on that. Once again, the Rockets facing the Warriors this Wednesday, the game of all games. I'm putting a lot of pressure on them to win this game. To me, they got to go get it, man. They got to go get it. They got to go get it. Even though if they lose, I'm not going to like die or anything like that. But man, we got to get this one, bro. Because, it's been since the pandemic, pre-pandemic, damn near, since we beat them. Nah, we can't go out. We're the Houston Rockets. We can't go out like this. So y'all let me know, man. I'm gonna ask y'all. I want y'all to be honest. Be honest. This is just between me and you. Do y'all think we can beat them? I want everybody to put their takes in the chat or in the comments. Do you think we can beat them? Be honest. Be honest. I ain't gonna lie. I'm on the fence. I'm saying they gotta win. I don't know if we're gonna win, but I'm gonna step out on that. I'm gonna say this is the Wednesday night is the night. Big game in Houston. I know the Toyota's gonna be rocking. Do y'all think we could win? Put that in the comments or in the chat. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop, and we're going to keep dropping that. Bye.
DJ Candlestick. It's the Chop Not Slap Show.